Hi, I'm Leslie Maddox, the Geek Mama, and today I'll share with you our 4 main long-term homeschool goals, as well as 2 goals that did not make the cut and the reasons why. We never really planned to homeschool. It really wasn't even on my radar. I was looking forward to my kids going off to school. I like my alone time, and didn't think that I had the patience or all the reasons people don't want to homeschool. I just didn't think it was for me. But it became apparent to us that it was the best choice for us, for our family, and the best thing for our family. Part of that decision-making process involved me doing some research, which ain't no thing because I love to research. I love to gather information and to organize it and analyze it. It's almost like a hobby for me. It's something I like to do. Once we made the official decision that this is what was going to happen, then I really had to get my research on, and I was very excited about that on the one hand, but on the other hand, I was dreading it a little bit because the research that I'd already done just showed me how much I didn't know about educating kids, especially young kids. Even though I loved research, and even though we were very excited about homeschooling and the benefits that it will provide for our family, I started getting a little bit of a panic attack. That's what made me realize that I would need to put some boundaries, some constraints on the research that I did. So that's what I did. I came up with 4 different things, 4 main long-term homeschool goals. Now I expect each of those goals to become a little more specific and customized as each of my kids gets older. So we'll customize them for each child as they get older. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into those and explain my thinking behind each one of them. All right, so our first long-term homeschool goal was that our kids grow to know, love, and serve God. My husband and I are Christians. We're raising our kids in the knowledge of God and pointing them to a relationship with God. And really, if we get nothing else right, if we can really get a handle on this, then I think that our homeschool will be a success. This is, I think, going to be our most difficult goal because it will require us to live out a real faith in front of our kids and not just pay lip service to it, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's not just about praying before a meal, which we actually don't do, or going to church, or which we're actually not doing right now either because we haven't found a church. We haven't found a church home, but it's not just about those things, or any of the kind of rituals that we apply to our faith. It's about living life an honest and true faith in front of our kids without that hypocrisy. Our second goal is that we are able to help our kids find an area of interest and passion that may turn into a life's work. Have you ever been around someone or seen someone who's doing just what they're meant to do? That they're good at it, they inspire people, they seem very inspired themselves, they've got a light in their eyes, that spark. I would love that for my kids. My plan is to really focus on each child and to see what are their skills and abilities, what's the thing that they seem really interested in, that they talk about, that they gravitate to, and lean into that area and see if that turns into a lifelong passion for them. I think if we do that, that will motivate them to learn. They won't need me behind them pushing them to learn about that area. They'll do it on their own. So that's our second goal for our homeschool, that we can help them find an area of interest and passion, something that puts that spark in their eyes and that inspires them, and they can inspire other people just by doing it. So our third goal for our homeschool is that we help the boys to develop good habits. This includes time management, organizing their workspace, working well, sitting down and focusing on a task, and giving the appropriate amount of time to it and appropriate attention, good learning habits, study habits, good work habits, so that when they are grown and out of my house and they need to learn something new for a goal that they have or an interest or even just a job requirement, that they can go do it. They don't shirk from that responsibility. I would hate it if they grow up to have an interest in something, then realize, oh, I gotta learn about that. I don't want to do it. That seems too hard. No. I would hope that they say, okay, I don't know anything about this area, so I need to learn something about it. What's a course I can take? Who's someone I can talk to? Is there a book I can find that will teach me about that area? And then just go do it. There's a lot of character development involved here, diligence, and sticking to something, even if it's not something they're crazy about, just so that they can get to their end goal. So there's a lot of character development that can happen here. But I think it will serve them well, both in their professional and their personal lives. And speaking of professional and personal lives, our fourth goal for our kids is that they have good relationships with people, that they enter and maintain good relationships both personally and professionally. This would mean personally that they apply wisdom in dating relationships, in making new friends, and not just fall into any relationship that comes their way. Professionally, it'll mean using people smarts, not just in how people treat them, but in how they treat other people. I've learned what I know the hard way. I think most of us do, and my kids will have to learn things the hard way too. But if we can at least give them a good foundation, so that they enter into relationships with some thought and foresight, and so that they can navigate difficult relationships with some dignity and grace, then I will consider that to be a success. All right, so those are our 4 general homeschool goals. It may surprise you to hear that none of them seem very education minded. And actually, the 2 goals that I did not put in that list, that I didn't make any of our top goals, are very education minded. And so I wanted to kind of go through my way of thinking for this, why I chose those 4 and didn't choose these other 2. And these other two goals are things that other people have chosen as goals for their homeschool. I came across them a lot when I was doing my own research. So I'm not sharing this to be difficult or contrary or like, oh, I know better than them. It's not any of that. I just thought it might be helpful to hear my train of thought, my line of reasoning, and why I didn't choose this for our homeschool in particular. These 2 things are goals that could be very appropriate for someone else's family, and I just didn't think they were appropriate for my family, and so I'll go through that. The first goal that I did not choose as a long-term goal for our family is a love of learning. And this may seem counterintuitive because we are talking about homeschool here. And you can make the argument that if your kids leave your homeschool, if you took your kids out of traditional school and educated them at home, and they leave your homeschool not having enjoyed learning, then how can you not count that as a failure? So let me explain this. When I hear the phrase love of learning, what comes to mind for me is love of learning, just anything is implied to me. And I don't expect my kids to love learning any and every subject. I think that's really kind of unreasonable for me to expect that of them. I love to learn about a lot of things, but I can think about areas that I'm not that interested in. My husband, he's a financial advisor, and he's been taking a class for a certification and doing a lot of reading and studying about it. And we talk about it, and I'm interested because it's his field, and because it's kind of nice to have a financial advisor husband and to get educated in areas that a lot of people find challenging, including me. But as I listen to him talk, I gotta tell you, there's a part of me that thinks, well, I'm so glad that I don't have to know all this stuff. I would hate it if I had to sit down and learn those things. It's not that I'm not intellectually capable. I'm just not interested. I just don't want to. I can think of a lot of areas that I'm not interested in. I also can think of areas that I like to learn about that other people have no interest in. That's just that's the glory of being creations of a loving God, that He created us all to be unique and different and with different gifts and abilities. So I don't expect all of my kids to learn to love learning about everything. Again, this is where some character development will be required. While I don't expect my kids to love learning about everything, I do expect them to apply diligence, even in areas that they're not crazy about, if it's something that's going to be required of them to do their job well or to reach their goals. That's kind of a life lesson there. Now, I think if we find that area of passion for them, that they'll be motivated to learn about that thing, that they'll love learning about that. And maybe that's what a lot of people mean when they're talking about a love of learning, that they can find an area for their kids where they love to learn about that and pursue knowledge on their own. And yeah, for that, I definitely want that for them. I'm someone that I struggle with paralysis of analysis, and I love to just read and learn. And I struggle with putting things into action. So I feel a burden to help my kids do that. It's like, okay, let's learn about this, but now let's go do it, and not just think about it all day long. So that's why I chose not to make a love of learning and a long-term goal for our homeschool. It's a step along the way in particular areas, but it's not just a final goal for us. The other area where the other goal that I chose not to make part of our homeschool goals is a love of reading. And this one was a difficult one for me because I love to read. I mean, I was very much a bookworm as a kid. I remember first grade, just sitting down and choosing to, instead of playing with toys, just to read my little books. I just like doing that. I learned to speak English in kindergarten, and in first grade I was already choosing to sit down and read. I remember in second grade, be playing, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go in my room and read. I pull out my little children's Bible and read through that. I was super excited whenever I got readers in school. I'd take it home. I remember getting the reader on first day of school and thinking, I can't wait to get home and just start reading through it. I don't want to wait to read as the teacher made the assignments. I just wanted to read it. So you would think, well, don't you want your kids to be readers too, and share that with them? And sure, of course, if any of my kids shares that love of the written word, I think that'd be awesome. I love the idea of sitting around together, reading books, sharing, what we're reading, what we're learning, what we like about it, and what we don't like about it, and getting excited about getting a new book. I would love to share that kind of thing with my kids. But I also recognize that not everybody is wired that way. My oldest son, he's not loving the books. I have gotten him to the point that he can enjoy a story and he will listen to me read out loud and will do it without too much fuss. But I can see that's probably never going to be a passion for him. My husband's the same way. They'd rather be doing something than reading. And I'm glad to have them in my life and show me that, because I can think back and realize that I had some kind of judgy attitudes about people who did not love to read. I never said these things. I never really formed the words in my mind to complete this thought. But I realized I had the attitude that any truly educated, intelligent person will love to read. And that's just not true. God made us all different ways to love different things. Now, you may think, well, Leslie, you're just using this as an excuse not to make your kids read and to learn about writing and all. And that's not true. The opposite would be true. I can see that since I love words and lingered over words, I didn't really need anybody to sit and teach me how to read or vocabulary, spelling, or how to write well. I could go and figure that out on my own. But someone who doesn't linger over words isn't going to necessarily learn that type of stuff on their own. When I was in the workforce, you'd be shocked by how many emails I got from people who did not use correct punctuation or capitalization or any capitalization, who wrote things that I couldn't understand, or who would say one thing meaning another. I venture to say that those people were not book lovers. So I do have that concern that if one of my kids doesn't love to read, that they're going to grow up and come across in writing like they're not the intelligent, capable people that they are. or who have a hard time learning things because they don't want to linger over the words. They just want to skim over it, and they don't have good reading comprehension skills. So I feel a burden for my kids who are more active and want to be doing and not reading. I feel a burden to really focus on language arts for them. So it's really the opposite. I'm not going to use it as an excuse to not teach them good skills. Instead, I'm going to use that as a reason to focus on those skills. So I hope that was helpful to you as you're thinking about your own homeschool and what you want your family and your kids to get out of it. If you like this video, please like it, and please subscribe if you want more content on the nitty-gritty of homeschooling, at least as far as my experience of it and our homeschool experience. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.